This is Zach and Jackson. These guys are young business owners, landscaping companies. These guys sign checks, hire and fire people.
And deposit checks.
Making a lot of moves for two guys that are only 24 years old. Super impressive. So I'm gonna ask these guys some questions, dive into their story a little bit. All right, Zach and Jackson. You guys have a history together as friends, and now you are rival or not rival business owners here in Salt Lake City, Utah. You guys are both 24. I think it's super impressive what you're doing at this age. Tell me about that. What is that like to be your age and among your peers to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd both agree it's an anomaly for sure. I think that's why we connect the way we do, just because there's very few people that understand the ins and outs of entrepreneurship, but also running a business with employees and having to hire, fire, and like you were saying. So I think that's kind of the main reason. I mean, before that we were friends. I mean, we knew each other in high school, went to different high schools, dated a lot of the same girls, and then and then kind of he was a groomsman at my wedding, I was a groomsman at his, and then kind of just reconnected. And it just kind of was happenstance that we both had similar career goals. We were wanting to go the same place, and it's call it the universe, call it divine, whatever it is, but it was one of those things that just kind of ended up being a cool situation to be a part of. So he's like, well, what do you want to do for work? And I said, I want to start a landscaping company. And he's like, you're joking, right? It's like, no. And I was super thrown off. He's like, well, that's what I'm doing. And it was super strange just because I had never met anyone with aspirations to do a similar thing, because it's not like no one grows up wanting to do landscaping.
Well, Jackson, you were telling me yesterday that you were mowing lawns at 16, 17, 18, 19, and you just kept it going.
Oh, since I was 12.
Okay.
I was the neighborhood lawn kid pushing this mower up and down the street.
Yeah. Since
like 6th grade, and then just after high school kind of grew it a little bit more and more, and here we are.
When did you know, okay, I want to get a truck, hire my friends, hire some people? When did you know you wanted to do that?
Basically the end of my first year of college. So 2019. So that was like that's when I say my business started 5 years ago. Was that that's when I took it serious. That's when I didn't have another job. I went full time and just got into it.
What would you say is compared to the level that you guys want to get at to grow your businesses? Where are you now?
Fraction. Like I'm a little baby.
But you have a couple trucks, you have a couple fleets, you got a handful of employees, right?
Yeah.
And still, that's a fraction of where you want to be.
Yeah. We're at 6 trucks right now. I want to be at least 100 trucks. So it's just I'm just at the beginning.
So you want to take over Salt Lake and then all of Utah?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like I want everyone to see this logo and know who it is, type deal. They might not use us, they might not like us, but they'll know who we are.
At your age, where you're at, 24. What is it like to be that age and see your peers like just finishing college, and you guys are living completely different types of lives, right? Tell me about that experience. What is that like? Or does it feel like nothing?
I think it feels less than it is. Yeah. If you ask my wife, she hates it because she sees all of our peers going on trips, going on all this stuff. But I'm always telling her, look, that's funded by their parents. Like they're still living under their parents' reign for a little bit, a little bit. And like Zach and I are both very financially independent, always kind of have been. And while we're not going on the trips now, when we're 35, we'll be going on trips that cost $50,000 while everyone else is stuck at home slaving away working because they have to. And we'll be playing, and that's really what it is. It's like your kids. For me, it's like I want to provide a life for my kids that is different than everyone else, and be there for my kids when all the other parents have to be working, type deal. So
you want that freedom at that age.
Yeah, like I want to be the parent who's involved with their kids when they're in elementary school, junior high, high school, but because I can. Like a lot of the dads that are there don't have a job, and that's why they're there. They have no money. But for me, it's like I want to be the opposite. I have a bunch of money, so we can go, do whatever we want, but I can still be involved. So it's like, for me, it's like I'm going to work super hard now
and work really long hours for that payoff later.
Do you feel like you're missing anything at this like early 20s, mid 20s range? Do you feel like you're missing something by working so much?
I mean, sure, but I would rather have a bunch of fun with my kids than now. Like, I'm still having fun. We still have lives. So while we doesn't look like it from the outside looking in, I'm having a blast. Like growing a business.
Matters.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, that's for sure. So, but yeah, it's been exciting. It's fun. Don't feel like I'm wasting my life right now. If that's kind of what you're asking. So, but I'm also not envious of people who are going on vacations. I don't really like going on vacation.
Yeah,
so,
you're doing what you like.
Yeah.
This is what you love. You love putting in the work to build up to something that you can look back on in 10 years and be really, really proud of.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. But I also don't think we're much, for me, it doesn't feel like we're much different than some of our other colleagues. Or like kids who are just graduating college, I don't feel much different than them. Like Zach and I have our strengths that have helped us in business, but those other people have different strengths that help them in different ways. Ours just shows a lot more. So that's how I see it, at least. It helps that our wives are friends and our wives are doing a similar thing. Like our wives are both in the beauty industry. His wife does nails, my wife does hair. So they can kind of connect that way, and they keep each other busy while we stay busy.
Our dogs are friends.
Our dogs are friends.
Yeah.
So
you guys are brothers.
Well, I was telling Zach last night, we look identical. We both are married, both own homes in a very similar area, both drive a very similar truck. Our wives drive the exact same car, just different color. On accident, we weren't really close when he bought his wife's car. Both have dogs. You know, we're both entrepreneurs. Because everyone just looks and it's like, oh, he owns a business. He has tons of money. That's what everyone thinks. They don't really dig into it. When in reality, tons of people make way more money than us right now.
Yeah. But the difference is, I mean, you're looking at the reasons why we don't have, that crazy amount of money is because, it takes a lot of money to grow a business. It's like, our minds work a little differently, right? I mean, I was telling you, Logan, like I think it's so cool that you're traveling the world. It's like not that I don't have a desire to go do that, but like if I told my wife I was going to go live in my truck and go drive around, she'd say no chance, like go do it on your own. And I'm not saying that's something I want to do, but it's like that's such a different path. And it's like my big thing is it's like there's no right path. It's like we do the things that we do because we enjoy it. Like it's 8:00 on a Tuesday night. It's like we both just got off of work. Like, right, we're both going to go home and probably put together a couple more contracts that we're behind on, follow up on estimates, send invoices, things like that. It's like we still have more to do, but we don't view it as work. We view it as just like having a purpose. And so it's like there's still reasons, right? Call it your kids, call it your family, call it, whatever you feel like your purpose is. It's just we understand that money drives a lot of those things. It makes it a lot easier to be there for your kids, and so when you don't have to have a job, when it's like, when your kid says, hey, it's his senior year, he's about to go to college, and you want to spend a week with him, instead of, putting in a request for PTO or, trying to like make this work, it's like, okay, dude, like, let's go. And it's not even a thought. You're there for your kid in an instant. And so that's kind of I think, maybe not the difference, but I think we don't, like your question before, we don't see like we're different than our peers, right? It's like, that's part of entrepreneurship. It's like, I can't remember who says it, but I think it's actually Alex Ramonzi. He says the two most common traits in people that are entrepreneurs and are successful in life is, one, they feel like they deserve more than people, and two is that they are massively insecure about themselves. And so it's like they keep achieving because they never feel like it's enough, right? It's like if Jackson was at 99 trucks, it's like it doesn't matter. It's like it's not about that. It's about feeling like, oh, like this is it. So it's just the way we find purpose, and it's call it healthy, call it unhealthy. It's just everyone has their vices, and work just happens to be ours, and it just happens to make us money. And we're young enough to where we make some money, but at the same time, the future's a lot more bright.
And it looks way better than it actually is. Like people think entrepreneurship, you get to choose your own schedule, whatever. we're like in prison to our job. Like it doesn't turn off.
Right.
We can't, like with his point about PTO, that dad can go for a week and get PTO and just turn work off. Doesn't have to think about it. For us, it never shuts off. We went to Lake Powell last fall where we have minimal service. We both still probably put in like 20 hours of work while we were there, just because you have to. Everything falls on you and you can't pass it off to anybody else. So once you get to a certain point in business, I'm sure it's different, but right now, like we're almost slaves to it.
And the funny thing is it all equals out, right? We may put in 100 hours a week now and put 0 hours in when we're 40, you know, but it's like, it all spreads out. It ends up being very similar. It's just, we'd rather take a risk now because, like, let's say for instance, you know, Jackson's truck or my truck, it gets repoed tomorrow. You know, it's like, yeah, like that sucks, but like at least we failed while we were young because we still have the next, you know, 25, 30 years to, you know, do whatever else we find purpose in. And so that's that was my big motivator. It's like, why not? Like, if not now, then like there's no better time, like genuinely. Like we don't have, you know, tons of responsibilities outside of work. So it's a lot easier to make that decision when you can, you know, focus 100%.
Small business owners, young entrepreneurs, what has been the biggest hurdle or struggle for you guys early on individually? Like you might have different answers, right? So
it's, I mean, honestly, it'll be funny if my family sees this, but it was my family. It was my biggest, and Jackson knows that. It's like, so I'm the youngest of 6, and they're all relatively high achievers, but it's like, I achieve, and you know, it may look like I achieve the most, and it's like, and I sounds arrogant, but like I know I will achieve the most, just for the sole fact of I have this giant bag of chips on my shoulder, of being the youngest, of not feeling like I was ever, you know, enough. So it's like everything I do is just, you know, to make that up. And it sounds silly, but it's like it works, and like that's where it's given me purpose. And it almost feels like I don't have any support. So it's like I have to execute, where it's like I don't necessarily have like no one calls me. I don't have a parent that calls me and says, hey, like, what's new in your business? Or a brother that says, hey, what's new in your business? Or, you know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, tell me about this.
That encouragement.
Exactly.
Right.
And I've never had it for the most part, right? With a few exceptions. And so I just have to try so hard to get that elsewhere. And, you know, again, call that unhealthy, call that, you know, motivation. I call it the bag of chips on my shoulder that I have, and that's just what's motivated me to keep pushing. And I know one day it's like none of it's going to matter, because I'll be different for my kids. I'll be different for my kid who, if he wants to have a job, go work and go do what you can, right? And like be that support that I never felt like I didn't have. So that's kind of what motivated me and has kept pushing me, but at the same time, it keeps you down. It's interesting.
So your biggest hurdle was also your biggest source of motivation.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But I've had to, with Jackson's help, we have lots of, we'll joke that because we'll often, our wives will fall asleep before we do, and so we'll either go work, it's like stay up and work, or we'll end up hot tubbing and like we'll chat until the early hours of the morning. And so it's like we'll talk about things like that, where it's like, that's why I asked you, right? I was joking with you. You were joking. You said, dude, you're going to be a pastor. I was like, no. It's like, what's your origin story? Why do you act the way you do? And like I act every fiber of my being, why I act the way I act, like why I treat my employees the way I do, why I choose friends like Jackson, why I treat my wife the way I do, and like care for people, is because I'm trying to be everything I didn't get. And so, I mean, it's, I know saying that sounds sad, but it's not. It's a good thing, because it's motivated me to move forward and build something that no one can take away from me. It's like, I can point at that and say, it doesn't matter, like, whether you feel it or not, that's evidence of proof that like I'm enough and I've succeeded. And again,
you could easily have
right?
used it as a played victim and used it as something that holds you down and use it as an excuse, right? But you didn't do that.
Don't get me wrong, I have done that, and I do that. There's a lot of days that I do that, but it's just putting more days in that you believe in yourself than days that you don't. And I know Jackson has a very similar, like it was a different upbringing, but a similar outcome. You ask the drunk bum, why are you an alcoholic? He says, oh, well, it's because my father was an alcoholic. We ask the millionaire, Why are you a millionaire? He says, because my father was an alcoholic. And so it's not a matter of what happens to you, it's just the way you react to it. And some days are great. Some days you feel like you're on top of the world, just ebbs and flows. And our ebbs and flows are just a little bit higher. So,
Yeah. What's interesting is, so Zach and I, our upbringings were like almost opposite. He's the youngest, I'm the oldest. Not a lot of support. Like Zach, it kind of seemed like Zach's parents were just done and just kind of forgot about him. Like Zach kind of raised himself. And for me, I had a lot of support and still do. And so where I'm able to use that as motivation because I know there's somebody backing me. It's like sure they probably won't buy me out if I make a bad financial decision, but I know that emotionally they'll back me up. I have somebody to fall back on, and so it's kind of interesting to see like how that makes me make decisions, and Zach will make the exact same decision the same way, but it's because of a different like background. Zach will do it because he has to. I'll do it because I feel confident that I'll help emotionally and have support that way.
It's really interesting that you've achieved almost the same outcome with very different origins.
but don't get me wrong, like with the same origin, right? You know, Jackson in a parallel universe could be a drunk bum, right? He could be, you know, whatever, right? He could be completely opposite, and me in a parallel universe could be the exact opposite. And so it's like, that's part of the reason why we start, you know, we're part of Penhive. It's because it's like, there's so much good, and Penhive is a group of entrepreneurs in Salt Lake that, you know, we, you know, kind of collaborate and help people along the path of entrepreneurship. But because like whatever your origin story is, like it's going to be a different path, right? It's going to be totally different. It's like, and it doesn't matter what it is, how people have it way worse than me and way better than Jackson and everything in between. There's a lot of people I can point at and say, you are the reason I do this. And maybe that's bad, but that's just my reality. And I hope it changes. I hope it gets more healthy, but.
Yeah, but use it. You have
Yeah.
it. You're the millionaire with the
Exactly.
drunk dad, not the other way around.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you're just capitalizing on kind of where the shortcomings of your growing up have been, and
Right.
you know, you take advantage of it. And then on the flip side, for me, it's like making the people that support me, making them proud. It's the same thing. We're both searching for approval. It's just it's just rooted at from different places.
Just do it now. Why not? Worst that happens is you fail. And the reality is if you're gonna fail early, and it's not gonna matter enough to, like, it's not gonna matter enough. Like, if you get far, you're gonna have enough money to like be okay, right? Because if you get 6 years into business and you fail, you'll have something. You have some sort of reserves. You have something to show for it. You have some sort of asset. Whereas if you try and 6 months later you fail, yeah, maybe you're out some capital, but at the end of the day, you're a way better person. So when you go back to whatever you were doing before, you're farther ahead.
Well, and if you're going to go off and do your own thing and fail, and you're like destined to fail, you might as well fail early so you can restart.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like Zach and I were talking about, if we failed tomorrow, we'd be able to rebuild something like this in a fraction of the time because we already have the knowledge. When you fail, you don't lose the knowledge.
Yeah.
You might lose the assets, you might lose the capital, and you might lose the connection or some of your clients and all that. But
Yeah.
what's in here doesn't leave you, and that's really what's important.
Well,
And that's why mentorship is so
Right.
important. And like with Penhive, we're able to put all of our minds together. And while some of us may run landscape companies, we still have knowledge to help someone running a clothing brand or someone running, something else, because business is very similar. Business, all you're doing is convincing someone to buy a product or service. You got to market it, you got to fulfill it, and that's all the same.
The question that maybe somebody watching this is wondering, why didn't you just start your businesses together and have the same company and share it?
the funny thing is we would probably fail if we did that,
We would hate each other.
because we'd want to do the same job. We'd want to do the same things. Like the reason we're friends is because when we're sending a snow estimate or sending, a contract, a monthly contract, it's like, hey, like, what would you price this at? You automatically have someone where it's like, okay, like, bounce that idea. It's like, come December and January, it's like, there'll be massive text messages back and forth, like, of just properties. And like, the funny thing is the whole time we've been in business, we've only quoted one of the same properties. And so it's like, there's tons of business to go around, and I know that's kind of off topic, but the reason is we'd want to do the same job. We'd want to do the same things. We'd want to be
Your specific role.
exactly.
Right.
Neither one of us would want to take the role of operations or be behind the scenes a little bit more.
but it also may look like we're very similar, but we do business in different ways.
Right.
And so that we would clash. Zach and I are both very, we're very confident in ourselves and what we're doing. And it's kind of like my way or the highway with a lot of things. And so it's the same with Zach, just because we have a lot of pride in ourselves, and so we would clash.
There's a lot of ways to get from point A to point B, but my way is right and his way is also right. And so
yeah,
it's
you see those ramp racks, those are stupid. Just kidding. But actually, like, we provide a very similar service in some regards, but we do it in different ways.
Exactly.
Zach runs different kinds of plows than we run. We
Yep.
both plow the same parking lot. We both charge the same. In reality, it takes the same amount of time probably, but there's
just
different
different.
ways to do it.
Preference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is preference. Like, yeah. So that's it. I'd almost guarantee you we'd fail. I would almost I'd put money on it that we'd fail.
But we would fail because our partnership wouldn't be strong.
Exactly. We could get a lot done. Don't get me wrong. Like maybe we could grow twice as fast, but we wouldn't be able to go as far, right? So we could, combine like that and do a lot of the same job at the beginning, but when roles got big enough to where like it has to be separate, you can't do the same thing. Like I just think it would fall apart. But
We were going to Lake Powell with some friends, and it was me and one other guy and a couple other girls, and we're like, oh, we should bring another guy. So I'm sitting next to Zach. Zach's been home from his mission for probably like 3 weeks max. We hadn't really hung out at all at this point. And I just said, hey, do you want to go to Lake Powell? And he said, yeah, sure. That kind of that's where our friendship really started, was in Lake Powell. So it's like Zach and I are both very
spontaneous.
pretty spontaneous and just kind of go with things. And to that same point, we were sitting in that same class a couple months later, and everyone was talking about their spring break plans. And we're like, well, I'm not doing anything. Are you doing anything? And he's like, no. And so we booked flights to Hawaii that day. 5 days later, flew over to Hawaii. No hotel, no car.
Yeah.
And just kind of did our thing.
Well, then COVID hit, and so we ended up staying a lot longer, and then ended up getting home for cheaper. I think we spent $800 for 10 days. Yeah,
everything, flights, food, everything.
Yeah, it's a good time. I had a vision of what I thought my life was going to look like. I didn't think I was going to get married. Like I was like, I'm going to come home from my mission, and I was going to do what you were going to do. Like I was like, I'm going to go, I'm going to buy a dog, and I'm going to go find the most remote place to live in the world, and I'm going to go live there because I was playing that victim card of like, so many things are happening to me. It's like I'm the problem. I need to leave. When in reality, it was like, no, like, call it God, call it the universe, call it, whatever, right? There's just a plan that's meant for you, and just follow it. Like, just try. Like, what's the worst that happens is you fail, and the best thing that happens is that's the best thing that ever happened to you. And so it's like, and failure is, who cares? If you believe in an afterlife, failure's, who cares?
Nothing.
It doesn't matter. And if you don't believe in an afterlife, great. Who cares? No one knows you failed. So.
But at the same time, like when you're starting a business, just be optimistic. Zach always jokes that when you run a business, you get paid to get bullied. It's just like you roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever going to go the way you think it is. And the faster you can adapt and make changes to what's happening, the more successful you'll get. And if you're optimistic and kind of just go with what comes at you, you're able to make decisions much faster because you're not caught up in why is this happening to me? You just say, okay, well, this sucks. Let's get out of it.
Yep.
Man, how cool is that? Two guys, best friends, killing it at age 24, super inspiring. Yeah, I hope some people can take something away from that. I certainly learned a thing or two. Subscribe to Logan Let's Go for more awesome stories of really cool, interesting, unique people.